Hello and welcome to Reportage. This is Danish bin Nabi. The newly released book by Fingerprint Publishing House, Farooq of Kashmir, has been in news. The book talks in detail about many facets of Kashmir conflict, one being the Abdullah family. The author writes in detail about J.M. Shah, his political career, how he basically was the right hand man of Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, and how he subsequently became chief minister after a rift between him and Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah erupted, which basically split the family between the two. The book also talks in detail about the corruption the Abdullah family has been accused of, like that of Red Book and the Tariq Abdullah saga when he was the managing director of Kashmir Tourism. To listen to the family side of the version of the history, I am today joined by GM Shah's son, Mr. Muzaffar Shah. Let's listen into it. Mr. Shah, there has been recently this book by Farooq titled Farooq of Kashmir. I think you must have
Yes,
read
yes,
this book
I've
by
seen
this
this
time.
book.
Yeah. There are many questions regarding GM Shah, your family, yourself as well, about the corruption cases
Mhm.
which has been alleged. Let's take all these questions one by one, and let me start by first asking you, how did your
Yeah.
father, GM Shah, and Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah got associated?
Well, my father started his career when he was just, uh, he joined the first public protest when he was 12 years old as a volunteer of Muslim conference in 1937, 36, before the Muslim conference was changed into national conference. So he was 12 years old at that time. From that time, he continued as a volunteer of the Muslim conference and then as the national conference. And slowly, because of his dedication and his love for Kashmir and his love for Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah and his policies, he became a very front runner in the organization.
And became close to Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah.
Yes, because of his brother, Khaja Ali Shah. Khaja Ali Shah, the elder brother of my father, he was a very close associate of Sheikh Saab.
You
And
also mentioned
one
you
of the
also
founder
mentioned
members of the
yes. You
pardon?
also mentioned about Muslim conference, and the author in the
Yes,
book claims with a reference that Begum Abdullah basically was against Sheikh Abdullah for converting Muslim conference into national conference.
absolutely incorrect. That is not
So,
true at all.
so Begum Abdullah basically supported Sheikh Abdullah in converting Muslim conference to
Absolutely,
national conference.
absolutely.
Fine. Shah.
Not only Begum Abdullah. This also had the tacit understanding of Qaeda-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah that Muslim conference should be changed into national conference, because when he came to Kashmir and he saw that it was not only a predominant Muslim majority state, there were Hindus there, there were Sikh there were Kashmiri Pandits there were the Dogras there, and the Rajputs, the Hindu Rajputs. So he could sense what Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah was saying, that we have to take the entire Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh with us, including the Ladakh. Don't forget, Ladakh is one of our main regions. So the national conference, the Muslim conference name was changed, and it had the approval of all right-thinking people.
Including Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
Yes, sir. I am saying it again, including Qaeda-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Yes.
Shahsab, point well taken. Explain to me, when Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah was arrested in 1953, where was GM Shah?
My father at that time was controller of food and supplies. One of the most important jobs, important portfolios that he held, to see that in those, because at that time it was mayhem all around. And in 48, I'm saying, he was controller of supplies from 1948 till 1953. So the supply route to Kashmir, in the time of the when the first emergency government headed by Sher Kashmir came into force, Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, my father GM Shah, along with Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad Sahab, late Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad, they played a very important role in maintaining supplies to Kashmir, and also a very important role in bringing out the Hindu population from Kashmir, coming in from Muzaffarabad because of the raiders problem, and to see that they were safely put on tongas, because those days there were no transport available. When the Maharaja had to leave the state because the raiders were coming very near, he had to leave Kashmir. So he left with the entire available transport there at that time with the Kashmir government, to take his belongings, to take his stuff, to take all his people around, and whatever vehicles were available, the lorries and the trucks, they were taken by in the Maharaja's kafila, in this cavalcade, to Jammu. So there was nothing left in Kashmir to take care of these people who had to be removed. And so Shah Sahab, along with Bakshi Sahab and other National Conference volunteers, they organized tongas, 300 tongas. On 300 tongas through the old cart road, all these our non-Muslim brethren, they were safely taken to Jammu and deposited with the local government there. And unfortunately, on their return, the entire 300 Tonga drivers, they were butchered and massacred in Nagrota. So Sheikh Shah Saab's role in the Sheikh Saab's cabinet starts from 1948. And the question that you asked was what he was doing in 1953. At that time, he was arrested along with Sheikh Saab. I saw our friend telling you in the interview, he did not, I think, know about this, but Nagar Saab, that along with Sheikh Saab, along with all Mirza Muhammad Afzal Beg, Sofi Muhammad Akbar, Khaja Ali Shah Saab, GM Shah, and all other National Conference top brass, they were arrested, and Shah Saab also spent 8 years in jail along with Sheikh Saab from 1953 onwards till he was released.
He was with Sheikh Saab in the jail throughout his 8 to
Yes.
10 years.
Yes, and in total, out of 22 years that Shah Kashmir spent in jail, my father spent 15 and a half years in jail, and 1.5 years, 2 years in prison, in the externment in Kotla Lane. So in all, about 16 and a half years, Shah Saab has also been a fellow passenger with Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah and his entire team in the jails. Yes.
Let's move ahead to 1981-82. Sheikh Abdullah, according to this book, at least twice or thrice, Sheikh Abdullah asked Shah Sahab GM Shah to take over. But your father, being an honorary man, he refuses to take over. Why did he refuse to take over?
Because he had an idea, and because he was basically a professional. He was from the London School of Economics and a thorough professional, apart from being a political guy. And he believed that after 60 or 65, people should retire and give chance to youngsters. That was number one. Number two, many times he was asked to take over from Sheikh Saab, but he said, no, I cannot look at the chair that you occupy, because being my leader, I cannot do that. I cannot look at it till you are alive. So I will not accept it. And he did not accept it. And the last try that my grandfather made was 2 days before his death. He even asked him at that time, could you please do me this favor that you take over and run the affairs of the state, so that you and Farooq Saab can take care of the national conference in a very big way. But my father again refused. He said, no, till you are alive, I will not accept it. There's a fact.
Why did he refuse it? Because he wanted the chair after his death?
He said, till you are alive, I will not accept this chair.
And he was
that was the respect to his leader, that he will not take his chair till he is alive.
Till he is alive. But after he is no more, he was willing to take the chair, right?
No. Then he did not have any of those what you call he did not want it, any of those ambitions, because had he wanted power, Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, his leader, was giving it to him on a platter. He refused. He said no. And it was not only while Sheikh Kashmir was on his last days. No. It was continuously for 2-3 years it was happening. Many times it happened, and many times we came to know that something like this is happening in the family or in the party, and Shah Sahib is not agreeing to what Sheikh Sahib is saying. And lot of negative what you call atmosphere was also created because of this. Unfortunately, very unfortunate. But the fact is that Shah Sahib refused to take over from Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah when he was alive. That's a fact.
But was there a division between the National Conference cadre between Farooq Abdullah and GM Shah after Sheikh Abdullah passed away?
Yes, there was.
Cadre wanted GM Shah.
For the first couple of years, no, things were okay, but then things started turning sour because a lot of people got entry into the National Conference who had no clue about the National Conference and who were always opposed to Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah's policies. And the old guard, like my father, and the people who had spent years and years in jail with Sheikh Kashmir and who had built National Conference from grassroots, they did not accept certain things, and then snowballed into a situation wherein unfortunately the National Conference got divided in 1983. It got divided.
I will come to that point in a moment's later time. First, tell me this.
Yeah.
Even legendary Sheikh Nazir of National Conference was against elevation of Farooq Abdullah as chief minister and party head, right?
No.
The book claims so.
Even if they had any qualms about it, but Sheikh Kashmir being Sheikh Kashmir and National Conference being a very a very disciplined force, these things, even if somebody had these ideas, they could never speak out. And I have
Mr. Shah, I'm not talking of Sheikh Abdullah. Mr. Shah, I am talking of Sheikh Nazir, the legendary Sheikh Nazir, General Secretary Sheikh Nazir. He was also against the elevation of Farooq Abdullah.
Not really.
But the book claims so. Is the book wrong then?
Well, in some cases, they are not reported correct.
Point well taken. The book also claims that Indira Gandhi and the Delhi establishment basically wanted Farooq Abdullah to take over and not GM Shah, because they considered GM Shah an hardline person to deal with.
That is true.
And
because
yes,
that
please,
is very
please
correct. That is very correct. They considered my father to be a hardliner. And
hardliner for whom? Explain me this term hardliner, which has been used by the authors in the book.
Hardliner for the establishment in Delhi, because GM Shah's approach to governance, to Kashmir politics, was the same as Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, his leader. And he could not be dictated. There was no question till he was alive, till his last day. You could not dictate to GM Shah.
Point taken. Explain to me the happenings from 83 onwards till your father took over as chief minister. How did basically this idea crept in?
Look, this is something which we have almost forgotten now, this 1983 between us. And as you know that now our family, my mother is now 89 years old, who is the eldest member of the family. And after that is Farooq Sahib, who is 1 year younger to her. And this unfortunate episode of 1983 and 84, it is a very painful situation that took place at that time. And I can only tell you, as a political being and as a member of the family and as a member of the original National Conference of Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, that the division of National Conference in 1983. It is not 84. The division of the National Conference took place in 1983. Yes, when it was divided between, it got broken into NCK, that is NC Khalida, and NCF, that is NC Farooq. So from that time till today, Kashmir has never recovered politically. And so what all happened at that time? It was the government of India played a major role in that. Mrs. Gandhi and her team played a role, and then they realized that they had done something wrong. They tried to correct it in 84. She unfortunately got shot in the after the Golden Temple episode, and then Rajiv Gandhi came in. So many things, and I would really not go very deep into it, but that was a very painful thing for us in the national conference and in the family. And I hope that it never happens again politically amongst us.
Mr. Shah, you are putting the blame on Delhi establishment, which is understood. You are putting the blame on Indira Gandhi, which is again understood. Her team, that's fine. But what about yourself? The authors have called you the strategist who engineered the defection in Farooq camp.
That's not true. I can only say is that when this unfortunate split took place in the national conference, too much of bad blood was flowing all over. Unfortunately, amongst those people on both sides who never knew what the real national conference stood for. And that was a very painful episode. And the question of strategy in this is not concerned. I have read that chapter on the book, wherein my friends, both the authors are my very good friends, my very, very good friends. And on some points, they are way above what the reality is. They have done a very nice, this book is a very interesting read, very riveting, but certain things that are connected to national conference and definitely connected to our family directly, in certain at certain places, they have gone off the record.
Please carry on.
Because in this one situation where they have said that, you see, there was an election in 85, wherein I was the candidate against Abdul Rashid Kabili Sahab, who unfortunately had written the red book against Shah Kashmir and our entire family. But nonetheless, he was chosen as the national conference candidate, because at that time double Farooq was in action, because both the Farooqs had joined together. And it was at that time Shah Sahab's government was taken something like has been foisted from New Delhi, which was not a fact at all. And the elections came in. The number that they have given of that I was defeated by so and so lakh votes, that's not correct.
That's not.
It was a very narrow victory for. It was a very narrow victory for our national conference combined and Maulana Farooq's combined. But there was one very important factor that I want to place before the world and particularly the Jammu Kashmir and the national, whoever is watching, because I believe lakhs and lakhs of people will be watching this program. One of the candidates at that time was my grandmother, Begum Abdullah from Anantnag. And the direct person, the candidate opposite was her Mufti Muhammad Saeed Sahab. But Begum Abdullah being Begum Abdullah, both my father and my mother, because my mother was the National Conference key president, they gave a direction to all the ministers. We had about 5 to 6 ministers from the South Kashmir. Ghulam Nabi Ali Muhammad Naik Sahab, Ghulam Nabi Kochak Sahab, so on and so forth. From Pulwama Dar Sahab, none of them were allowed to campaign against Begum Abdullah. Because the official report that my father received was that if all your ministers participate in the campaign against Begum Abdullah will most likely lose by 20 to 25,000 votes. That was the report my father received. And lo behold, he called all of us and said, nobody will go and campaign against Begum Sahiba because she is Madri Mehman. Nobody can do that. But on the contrary, entire national conference, entire Maulana Farooq's, late Maulana Farooq Saab's paraphernalia, they campaigned against me. But nonetheless, those days are gone. I have forgotten that.
And you have not lost by
I would not like to even get
it was a margin win.
Pardon?
It was a narrow win for the opposing candidate of National
Yes,
Conference.
the other candidate in Baramulla was our I forget his a very important person. I will remember it just now. And he also lost by a very small margin, and even my margin was in thousands, not in lakhs. And had the government of the time intervened, I would have won. But my father, being my father, he did not allow that. He said no, no interference from the government.
Mr. Shah, point well taken. Before I move to my next segment, my last question here, and kindly be very brief. Do you, as Muzaffar Shah, as an ANC president, Khalida Shah, and as a family member, regret what happened in 83, 84?
Everybody has regretted, right from national conference to us. Even my father, every time he used to say that what happened amongst us after Shah Kashmir's death, though he was not responsible for what happened, but the result that we got in was the division of the premium political party, and in the family, it will always be regretted.
Mr. Shah,
even after GM Shah Sahab giving one of the finest governments to the people of Jammu and Kashmir from 84 to 86. Still, he said always, no. Yeah.
Mr. Shah, we can disagree on this fine government which your father has given to the Jammu and Kashmir. Let's move to my last segment and last 9 minutes left. Kindly be brief. There is a mention of Red Book in this Farooq of Kashmir book, which is about the alleged corruption charges Sheikh Abdullah had and his family. How true are these allegations in the book?
That's what I was telling you. This Red Book is, unfortunately, written by a person who was my opposite candidate in 1985 elections, put forth by Dr. Saab and Maulana Farooq Saab. That was Abdul Rashid Kabri Saab. He is a very respected man. I also respect him very much. He has written this book when Shah Kashmir was alive against our family. I can tell you what is written in that is absolutely incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. I can have a debate with Kabli Saab or with anybody, anytime, any place, and prove that whatever was written in that was not true.
And what about Tariq Abdullah? They have also said about Tariq Abdullah when he was the managing director of tourism.
Let me tell you one thing. Not many people know a couple of things about late Tariq Abdullah. When Tariq Abdullah took over as the MD of JKTDC in 75 or in 76, I think. At that time, JKTDC by late Chief Minister Mir Qasim was to be put on sale. All the properties of JKTDC were supposed to be sold to whosoever would give the best price. Whether it was Lala Rukh or it was the properties in Jammu, it was the Residency Road property. The other this place I remember, Aapka Badsha, the Badsha Hotel and all that. So what happened was they were supposed to be put on sale. Within 2 years, Tariq Abdullah managed to turn this company from red into a profit-making company. Within 2 years. And also, if you see the huts that are made in Chashma Shahi, they were in a dilapidated condition, and about 6 of the huts were made new, for which he took a loan of, I remember it very well, he took a loan of 1 crore from the government and returned it within 1 year. So he did a very good job as putting all these assets back into shape. And
Shah
this
Sahab,
new Diwan Hotel.
Shah Sahab, let me read a line from the book about Tariq Abdullah. Tariq, however, managed to take JKTDC to its very nadir and earned the reputation of being whimsical despot for himself in the process. And you are telling
I can
me...
say one thing. Yes, I can say one thing. Sometimes my uncle, because he had gone through hell politically, he was the man in 1965 when there was agitation. Lakhs and lakhs of people raised the slogan, Amara Numainda Tariq Abdullah, United Nations man. And he did put up the case of Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah's arrest and the Kashmir problem in the United Nations, for which he was externed as a person non grata for 13 years. He was not allowed to come back.
And so these allegations in the book are wrong.
About him being whimsical, yes, at times he was whimsical, no doubt about it.
And what about despot? Was he a despot?
No, not at all. Not at all.
One part is true, another part is wrong, right?
Yes.
My last question from this book, which I found very interesting about your father, was that during his lifetime, he had dug a grave for himself, and he used to visit that grave often on Fridays.
Yeah, I also.
What was the story? Kindly explain to the viewers what the story of GM Shah's grave.
I will tell you. He used to go for prayers, and whenever he got the chance, he used to try to go to Chatabal, because that is where he was born. And he used to take the members of his cabinet with him. Sometimes he used to take Nag Saab, sometimes he used to take Bhadrabhai Saab, sometimes he used to take Hisamuddin Pandey Saab with him, all the members of the cabinet, one by one or in twos and all. I also used to go many times for prayers with him. And he used to tell us, see, this is where I'm going to be having my final resting place, and come, I'll show you. So all the stones that he had got carved, and the guy who had made that, he had measured every bit of it. And then I asked him why, and he used to go in and lie down and see how it is. He used to say, I want to tell my people, I want to tell those people who run the government with me, that finally you have to go to dust. So you remember that you have to be present before the God Almighty. And if you do good, आपको कब्र का अजाब नहीं होगा. आप आइए और अपनी फाइनल रेस्टिंग प्लेस वो खुद देखते थे कैसे होना था. So he was so God fearing. That is why you can never raise a finger of corruption against my father. Nobody on this earth can do that, because he was a very God fearing man.
If he was a God fearing man, why did he earn the reputation, the name of calling Gulshah curfew, something like that, if I'm not mistaken?
No, I'll tell you.
Shah curfew or Gulshah curfew, like that.
Yes, you're right. You're very right. The same people who called him Gul curfew, then finally, whenever he used to go out, the same people said Gulshah Badshah. Because that's why you said that we may have some differences on that, how his government ran.
Authors have also quoted one of the speeches of Farooq Abdullah, in which GM Shah at Nawai Subha was on the stage and has refrained the cadre from saying Gulshah Badshah. This is also written in this book.
He did not like that. Because you should also remember, you took the name of Nawai Subha. Nawai Subha is the headquarters of National Conference. Shah Kashmir Bhavan is the headquarters of National Conference in Jammu. That is the contribution of GM Shah. Single-handedly, he gave Nawai Subha to Shah Kashmir. Single-handed. This is a gift to the National Conference for times immemorial by GM Shah. Nobody could dare to make a complex like Nawai Subu in Srinagar and Sher Kashmir Bhavan in Jammu. It was one man who did it for his leader, Sher Kashmir, that was GM Shah.
Mr. Shah, point well taken. I am terribly running out of time. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope everyone reads this book, especially the new generation, to understand what has happened in 1980s. Thank you very much, Shah Sahab, for talking to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please subscribe to our channel Reportage and press the bell icon to remain updated.